Matt, what's going on, brother?
Oh man. It's just trying to live a life that's meaningful and honorable and also drink bourbon at the same time. So
You're getting deep on me.
here's a trick. Let me just share this real quick.
Okay.
Open a Diet Coke can.
Or you could, hike up your skirt and, drink your scotch neat. But yeah.
Oh, I love scotch. Scotch. Down in my belly. Uh never too late or
People
early
are
for
probably wondering why it's you and me on these intros and outros all the time.
it's
And
true.
this is why, this particular episode. The guy we've got, I'm really was excited for Mike Carroll, I'm equally as excited for this gentleman. But we can't have Brian doing this because this would be his excuse to say wicked smart, and I just couldn't handle it.
It's exhausting.
Um,
We've done a good job of letting him hide his Boston accent, and when
right.
it really comes out, it's just too much. I
In
mean,
this case, he'd be introducing the wicked smart Sasha MacKenzie,
he is wicked smart
which
though.
I got to tell you, yeah, this was an awesome episode. I'm pretty excited for everyone to hear it. I think everyone knows who Sasha MacKenzie is, but just in case, he's Canadian and proud.
That's pretty
But
much
he's
all you need to
a
know.
professor, right? Right. But he's a professor of sports biomechanics. Um, he's consulted with Ping, FootJoy, but I think most everyday golfers know him in the consumer space as one of the co-founders of the Stack System, which is a speed training system that uh, the likes of Victor Hovland and Matt Fitzpatrick have made famous, and frankly attribute a lot of their success to the Stack System. Brilliant guy. We were lucky to get him on here, and he dispensed with the brilliance pretty quick, and I was just kind of trying to keep up, to be candid, but hopefully our audience is a little smarter than us, quicker on the uptake than I am, because there was a lot of nuggets in this one.
It was incredible. I mean, I honestly got to say, like, it's only an hour, but it felt like we could have talked for another two on top of that. Like, it was.
Yeah.
He's just knowledgeable about so much, and really just so generous with the time. Like, it was. I honestly, like, I feel like I kept asking questions long past I should have, so I apologize for that, dear listener. But honestly, my favorite part of the conversation was something that I did not even know that he was involved in, which is the heads up putting, which is we'll circle back there later. But it was just an awesome, yeah. So enjoy. I think you're gonna really really like this episode.
Very much appreciative of your time. I don't know if you're a night owl or up in the morning type of guy, but we'll get you off quick.
That's what she said.
Okay.
Heavy hitter right off the bat.
Perfect.
This is going to be awesome.
I love it.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Bogey Ball Society podcast. I'm Hayes, joined again by Matt, Brian, and Jason, and we have a special guest, Sasha MacKenzie of the Stack System. How you doing tonight, sir?
Doing great.
Fellas, how we doing?
Doing great, man.
Very good. Thanks for joining us, Sasha.
I won't take over the whole podcast, but I'm pretty disappointed because we got a surprise message from our club today that they are closing on Wednesday, even though it's going to be 60 degrees for the next 2 weeks. They have not aerated the greens yet. We've had a frost 2 times, but they're closing 2 weeks earlier than they were last year when it was much colder last year. So I was a little sad, but now I'm happy because we have an awesome guest on our pod tonight.
Well, Jason,
There you
you're in
go.
Wisconsin, though.
I
Sasha,
am.
you're in, is your off season well underway? Like the course closed a while ago, or how are you still able to get out?
We just closed yesterday.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So my pain is shared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although our greens are punched and sanded, and we're already starting to roll out the tarps.
Sure.
So how did the season go, Sasha? Question number one, because you're a former back-to-back club champion, right? How did it go this year?
Yeah, it went pretty well. Didn't win the club. Had a rough first day, but had 6 birdies on day 2. It was pretty good. Overall the season was great. Handicap up and down a little bit, but finished pretty strong. I ended up still around +2. I think maybe I'm not sure if I stayed above +2 or not, but the last couple of rounds. But to have my lowest front ever, shot 29. I was 7 under. At one point, I was 9 under through 12, so that was exciting. So I still have some good
Dang.
golf left in me. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I noticed you left off the last 6 holes, though.
Yeah, it was a whole lot of pars, and
Okay.
I ended up finishing at 65.
Okay.
So
Wow.
it was all right, though. It was mostly some really hot putting on the front. I wasn't playing particularly well, but I was draining a lot of putts.
Well, and we'll talk about it later, but that putting was with you looking at the target, right? Not at the ball.
Yeah, that's right. I putt heads up. Yeah, I look at a spot on my intended launch direction that passes closest to the hole. That's what I
Have you
focus
ever
on.
tried to go back? Like if I ask you, you can't do that now. I mean, are you out of luck? Would you be crippled?
It feels very, very strange. It feels very similar to taking a basketball shot and looking at your shoes, so there are times like if I have to be really jammed up against quite a high collar,
Okay.
and impact needs to be, extremely precise for me to putt heads down. It's still calling for a putter, the shot. But I need to make good contact, and I feel like I'm flying blind putting heads down. It just feels like the most foreign thing in the world.
With you as a member at your club, is everyone swinging 120 and putting heads up?
we have a lot of fast golfers, and we probably definitely have the highest percentage of heads up putters in Canada.
Wow.
There are routinely everybody in my foursome is putting heads up. Yeah.
I can say I have never seen it.
How often do you stare at somebody else and just lock eyes with them as you putt, just to mess with them? Like, watch this.
Yeah, I've never done that. Maybe that kind of defeats the purpose of it, I guess. Yeah, it'd be like doing, it'd be the same as looking at somebody while you were shooting.
Well, it's like Jordan doing a no look, eyes closed free throw. It's just a flex.
Yeah, I think Curry's done that a few times. Yeah.
You could do it, but you're nice to your opponents, is what it sounds like to me, Sasha.
Yeah, most of the time, people will finish playing around with me. They don't even notice that I'm putting heads up. It's like sometimes it's like an hole 17, you're like, oh, that was weird. You looked at the hole in that one. I was like, yeah, I've been doing it all day. Yeah, most people don't notice.
And what do you use for a putter? Do you use a more forgiving putter, or do you feel that your strike is even maybe better with the heads up than if you were staring at the ball?
Yeah, no. When I used to play a mallet like a Tomcat 14 from Ping, but to be honest, I play an answer, just a typical answer style putter. They're pretty forgiving. You need to really mishit a ball very badly in order to have it have a meaningful impact on your putt. You need to be outside almost a centimeter for it to show up in terms of missing a putt. So with the answer style putter, about 1% error in rollout distance, 1% error in lateral miss for every centimeter that you miss the center of the face.
Oh wow!
So you think on a 100-inch putt, you miss by a centimeter, you're missing 1 inch left to right and 1 inch short. So it's pretty inconsequential.
So what is consequential then? I mean, you've done some research into this. What truly matters, or what are the important factors that go into making a putt then, if it's not face contact?
Yeah, green reading is probably number one. So you need to, like if I come in my lab here and I've been having lots of conversations with Michael Kim recently about putting, and having these conversations with him. If he came into the lab and I gave him a 10-foot putt in my lab, and there's about a 2% grade on the lab on the green in my lab right now where I'd set him up, he'd hit 90% of them. He just sink the same putt over and over and over again. Well, why is he going to be down 40% or lower on the course? Is because he now has to read that putt. So green reading is massive. Speed control is number 2, and face angle for me would be number 3. You have to look at two things. You have to consider the physics of how much do I have to screw up face angle, how much do I have to screw up speed from what I'm intending to do, and then you have to layer on top of that, well, what is the variability of those things for a particular golfer's swing? So with impact spot, you have to screw up so badly, and no one messes up that badly, even if you take a terrible golfer in my lab, that it's not very consequential. Putter head speed, very consequential. Face angle, very consequential.
We need to get Brian into your lab to test that.
All right.
Yeah, there we go.
So I have a question. So
I'm here.
so you said, obviously green reading is a huge part of it. How do you teach somebody to read greens? And in this case, teach me how to read a green, because I miss a lot of putts by only a little, but I miss a lot of putts by only a little. And I know I'm overreading or underreading based on the day. I often overread. I often think, I'm in Southern California. I think things are going to break way more than they do. They just don't. They just hold their line. Is that just learning those particular greens, or is it more complicated than that?
It could be just learning those particular greens. I think aim point is probably the best system out there that will get you a good chunk of the way. Like don't plumb bob. That's not going to help you at all. But at least I like aim point. It's systematic. There's an approach, but there's still requires, a great deal of feel and calibration, right? It's not a magic bullet. So you still need to practice being able to stand and feel a slope. You still need to practice, how far you're holding your hand out in front of your face, but at least it's going to get you some of the way there. Regardless of what method you use, whether it's visual or aim point, you need to practice executing a lot of different putts and noting what your error is, so that we've got in the Stack app, we have a putting feature that does that. But you want to get better at reading greens. You need to see more putts, try to read them, and interpret your outcome, put that information somewhere so you can actually learn. Without that cycle of feedback, you won't improve. And a lot of people, Matt, they don't put enough conscious thought into the outcome of their putts the way we do other shots. So, for example, most golfers don't realize that reading the speed is just as important, I think more important than reading the line. So someone will hit a putt and let's say it rolls 3 feet past. And I'll say, did you misread the speed? They have no idea. They never really thought about it before. They would just assume, I think I hit it too hard. A lot, or they leave it short. They leave a 30-footer, 6 feet short. And they're like, well, I don't know. They never ask themselves, did I execute as I intended? Versus, let's say you and I are playing a par 3. It's 170 yards. You think, yeah, this is a perfect 7-iron. You judge the wind and everything. You hit it. Immediately you go, I flushed it. If it ends up 10 yards short, you go, I misjudged the wind. You immediately assess that. You know whether it was your execution, didn't hit it fat, out of the center of the face, swing speed felt good, I executed. Then I must have misread the conditions. But people aren't in tune to doing that with their putts. So a big part of getting better at green reading is seeing a whole lot of putts and acknowledging and trying to interpret whether you're green reading or did you read the speed correct? Did you read the line correct?
Yeah. I had a terrible round on Saturday. Putting is one of my strong suits, has been for the last few years. And I also did heads up putting for quite a while. I had a hard time judging pace. I went to heads up putting. It immediately got better. Like I played baseball, I played basketball, all that really clicked with me. The idea that you look at the hoop, you don't look at the ball. You look at the pitcher, the ball coming in, you're not looking at the bat, that idea. I've since sort of transitioned back, but I could not control the pace on this round, and it was maddening. Like it just got to the point where 8 holes in, I had 3 putts and was like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Like I think I'm hitting it 8 feet and it's going 8 feet past the hole. Like it was a bit of a nightmare. So, it was also a relatively new course to me, and I'm just going to chalk it up to I'm allowed to have a bad day. But it was it was a little dispiriting to come home and just be like, oh my God.
Well, the big takeaway there is, of the 5 of us on this call, Matt can still play golf and will continue to play golf all
Yeah.
year in California, while the rest of us are staring right at an off season. I have tried to incorporate heads up putting, and on my little indoor practice green here, it's absolutely better. I've used the Stack Putting app and tracked heads up versus a conventional method, and I'm better at heads up. I can't take it to the course. Now, maybe that's just because I'm a mental midget and I've got everyone in the back of my head thinking, they're all going to laugh at you, Hayes. But have you gotten that feedback before, that it's had a hard time actually getting it out on the course?
There's a few people that, certainly that is something you have to overcome, as everybody's going to look at me, I'm doing something funny. It's like, chipping cross-handed. But hopefully, maybe less of a mental midget for a few rounds, Hayes, and you get used to it. Some of...
He's honest, Hayes.
Those were your words.
Touche.
I'm not even sure if that's an appropriate phrase. I was just quoting you to, try to feel like I'm part of the group.
That's true. That's true.
Just want to fit in. So what some people do say is that they get distracted by the ball on short putts. That's a common thing that I hear. So they're, say 6 feet and in, they're looking at the hole in a straight putt, but they can kind of see the ball out of the corner of their eye and they get distracted. There's a few people that say that. But the best thing to do, use stack putting, try the statistical comparison feature, tag your rounds, heads up, heads down, see if it's better.
That was going to be my next question for you, Sasha, was how long have you employed the heads up putting? And what was your, if you did track it, and I'm assuming you probably did, what was your statistical improvement from traditional looking at the ball to switching to that heads up style?
Yeah, I actually haven't tested this with stack putting because I've been doing heads up for, I don't know, maybe 8 years now, at least. I did a series of studies on heads up putting in my lab, quite complex, well-structured studies. 80% of the golfers that come through my lab, 20 minutes to 30 minutes of just, hey, here's how you putt heads up. It's very similar to putting heads down. 80% of the golfers putt statistically better heads up, but even if they've been putting heads down for 30 years. So I would always do the protocol, hey, let's, I'd have my research students in here in the lab and I'd be like, okay, this is how we're going to send people through these 24 different putting holes we have. And let's go through the process, have the cameras on, make sure all the data is right. And you get lost, if you hit 96 putts over a couple of days, you have no idea how many you sank heads up or heads down. You're focused on the putt, whether, you're not mentally keeping track. And so, hey, run the stats time and time again. I putt better heads up. I'm sinking more putts. I have better entry speed. Where I enter the hole tends to be higher. So, just always turns out to be better for me, and most people.
And it works because, speed matters a lot more than contact, right? And
right.
So that, yeah. So it kind of leads me to my next question. I know you. Damn it, man! I had a great question, but no, it's all about.
Sorry,
you, Let's do what you want.
I just have one follow up. What made you start doing heads up putting?
Sure.
Did you? Because I read a book years ago, and I'm not sure if it's Putting Out of Your Mind or if it's another book, but it was probably 10 or 15 years ago. I found it in a thrift store, and I was so fascinated by the idea. But
were there pop-ups in the book?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was written in crayon. It was great. It was for a reader like me.
It was probably instinct
putting. That is exactly what it was.
Eric Appenfels and Bob Christina. They published a book based on, they would do these golf schools, I'm assuming at Pinehurst. And some of their research they looked at was mostly lag putting. And I think they started it as a drill. Don't quote me on this. It's a good book, interesting book, and you should pick it up. But basically, they found that people lagged it closer to the hole. The people at their golf school putting heads up. So, and there has been 3 other scientifically published research papers since the 60s that, there's some limitations to them, but they approach the idea. Why I started looking at it was, basically looking at other sports like basketball, looking at billiards. I grew up playing hockey. You play the entire game looking up. You take slap, in today's game, defensemen take slap shots looking at the net where they're trying, you would never make a pass in hockey with your head down. The breakaway, your head's always up. In the hockey stick blade and making contact is, you need to be more precise than with a really nice flat putter. There's a lot more going on. So all that made me reevaluate the paradigm. The thought must be, there are 4 things under the control of the golfer when you hit a putt that are primarily determine the outcome of where the ball hits on the face angle, path, and putter head speed. Well, it seems very obvious to me that our ability to judge the intended effort, the putter head speed, would be much better if we're looking at the target. And there's some great research that shows as soon as you put your head down, so if you're a heads down putter, you're looking at the hole, you're trying to translate that mental image, that visual image of how far away the hole is and the slope and all that into an effort, right? And as soon as you put your head down, there's an exponential decay of that, what effort level is required. That's why you see some really good putters like Aaron Baddeley. They'll actually start their stroke as they're taking their head back because they don't want to forget, how much effort's required. They don't want to forget that mapping of distance and slope and all that stuff into an effort level. So basketball, why do we feel like we need to look at the hoop, right? If we're trying to judge that distance, we're trying to judge that effort. So of those 4 things, I wanted to test, hey, does our impact spot variability increase? What happens to face angle variability, path variability, and putter head speed? It became very clear that our ability to control putter head speed improves. Our impact spot variability increases, but at a nominal amount that doesn't have an influence on our ability to control the ball. So that's kind of why I started looking at it with these looking at other sports. And in the process of looking at it, doing literature review, I came across Bob Christine and Eric Appenfeld's book, Instinct Putting, and the 3 or 4 other articles that have been published over the last 50 or so years. But cool. I tried to kind of button things down, make the research a little bit tighter.
That's super helpful. Thank you.
Hayes, can I ask one more question about the putting before you move on to the next thing?
Hayes, are we allowed to ask our questions?
Do I have to, can I raise my hand? I was just thinking about this because during the year I was using the stack putting feature, but mostly just on like flat straight putts in my house when I had a chance to use it, which for me from like I think it was like 4, 6, 8, and 10 foot distance. Sure. I didn't really have a lot of kind of significant differences from putting session to putting session. It'd be like 1 or 2, like one more or one less.
Makes sense.
But now I have a one of the putting simulators. So I think I'm going to have to try to figure out a way to kind of leverage that, mostly I use that for the flat putts, but between 5 and 50 feet. But I think I'm going to have to try to leverage that to use for some of the breaking putts and challenges kind of in the stack putting feature. I don't know, has anybody done anything like that you know of, or used kind of a simulator putting to use with the app?
But I'd love to have a conversation with you at some point about how best to do that. I need to maybe learn a little bit more about how that XPut works.
Cool. Should you message?
But it should be doable.
Can't you just put like a shim in the corner of it or something?
Well, I mean the app has plenty of break, like it's all so it's basically a camera reading the first like 3 feet of the putt, and then it will give you your break and everything like that.
All right. So my brilliant question. There's a lot of build up, and I'm getting a big letdown here.
Don't disappoint me.
Right. So Sasha, given your work with Ping, the whole notion of zero torque or torque balance putters is all the rage right now. So we used to be all talking about face balance versus toe hang. But lab golf putters are seeing some success on tour. In fact, Matt and Brian are both big fans. PXG just came out with the Allen, which is their answer to the zero torque concept. I think Even Roll just came out with something, and rumor has it Odyssey's coming out with something shortly. much ado about nothing, or is there something to that? What are your thoughts on the whole zero torque concept for improved putting?
Yeah, I've done a reasonable amount of research into it. For the listeners out there, I think it's important to define, some terms. So Lab has certainly, think it's fair to say, coined the term zero torque putter. Um, in my mind, as a biomechanist, maybe a bit of a misnomer, but that's fine. I think they definitely had a unique product, and they've come up with a name that set it apart. What's interesting about, let me grab, I've got a Lab putter over here.
I hope he's coming back. This would be an awkward podcast if he never comes back.
Oh, there he is. We're good.
Jason, you said something to offend him. I know it.
Yeah.
I was trying not to, but I have that effect on people.
Midwestern charm.
It's my Midwestern
It
charm.
would be
that's right.
genuinely great if he just like went over to his putting green and just started putting and was just like, guys, I'm good, thank you.
That might get some headlines, like Sasha MacKenzie storms off of Bogey Ball podcast.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Okay. So the idea is that, if I'm, normally there'd be a face bounce putter. If I was trying to bounce on my finger, the face would go up, and then we'd have a toe hang putter where if I was bouncing, it would hang toe down. See if I can. So this is fresh off the course, but this is, you can see it. That's my putter. It's got a little stack symbol on it.
Nice.
Personalized.
Yeah. Super.
Oh,
This
nice.
is
Very
the ping-
nice.
This is toe hang, right? So that means that the center of mass of the whole putter lies somewhere out here off the shaft. So that toe's going to hang down if I try to balance it. And then you'd have, face balanced putters where if you tried to balance it, the face would point to the sky. Zero torque, the idea, and I have a revealer under somewhere, is that no matter how you place it, it kind of stays in that orientation, right? Because the center of mass of the whole putter lies in the shaft. Now, what that means, I'm going to throw out some biomechanical terms here.
Okay.
If I was going to analyze the kinetics of someone hitting a putt, and I've done this quite a lot over the last 10 years, ton of research with Ping and other companies, this particular shaft company I've done some research with. We get a measure of the kinetics the golfer's applying. So there's never a putter that requires zero torque or results in zero torque. You wouldn't be able to move it. You need to apply torque to the putter to get it to rotate. Specifically, maybe what we're talking about is torque about the long axis of the shaft. If the center of mass of the whole putter is on the shaft and you have a grip that's in line with the shaft, and that means that forces you apply through the grip to create clubhead speed don't create what I call a moment of force about the shaft. That's because of the force you're applying, it's going to cause the putter head to twist open and closed. Okay? With this style of putter, a toe hang putter, effectively you can see the effect of the moment of force. If I apply a force through the shaft, it will cause the face to open if I'm pushing towards a target, right? In the backstroke, it would actually cause the face to close. But that doesn't mean if I'm putting with this putter that I can't apply a couple about the shaft, that's between my two hands, to create some torque. Okay. Now, what's super interesting about the Lab putter is you notice the grip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not in line with the shaft.
That's right.
So that effectively means because this grip is bent and I'm a golfer that's applying forces to the grip, in my mind, we call this a zero torque putter, but now the forces that I apply will create a moment of force. So what they've done is effectively, because of the way that the grip is bent, is they've effectively, relative to where I'm applying force, the center mass of this whole putter is now behind the line of action of the grip. Okay, so it's kind of actually ironically moved the center of mass off, if this was considered to be the line of the shaft, the grip, right? What's interesting with the revealer is that it doesn't apply forces through the grip. There's a little pin at the top, and then the forces are applied down here. So it kind of defeats the purpose, right? You got this really cool grip. Happen to think it's a very kind of neat design. The fact that they've, got the center mass of the whole putter in line with the shaft, but then they go about moving the center mass behind the line of action of the hands by bending the grip. So there's a lot out there now. I've got another putter around here somewhere where I can manipulate where the center of mass actually acts. I just completed a study last winter looking at 9 different conditions of where the center of mass is, from zero torque, toe hang, heel hang. We could really manipulate all the positions. And I looked at putter head speed variability, face angle variability, impact spot variability, anything that would determine the outcome of a putt. And there really wasn't much there. So, yeah, it's to me, it's, no study proves anything. I haven't seen any convincing evidence. There are certainly certain styles of putter that I believe are fit to certain strokes. There's some evidence for that. Is there one putter that's better than others? I don't know. Is the hype around the current putters, is it higher than, what was going on with the Spider a number of years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not. Everybody thought that was the cure. With the mallet that wasn't center shafted and the big toe hang.
How much in your take does confidence play a role in someone putting better or worse? Because certainly I can speak that when I went to the 2.1, I had a lab a couple years ago. I was terrified of putting. I never knew where the ball was going to go. I felt like I was pushing or pulling almost every putt. And I started working really hard. That's when I was specifically doing heads up just to try to improve my pace. I figured if I missed, at least I would be close to the hole. I wouldn't be super, super long or super short. My confidence skyrocketed with the lab. I felt like it hit the line that I was intending every time. And with my improvement on speed, then there was a thing. But I recognize that it is it's confidence inspiring. When I look down at that putter that has in my head helped me. If I look at a putter that isn't that, often I can doubt, oh God, am I going to hit this? Like how much do you have any kind of correlation between, if you believe you're going to putt well with this thing, you will putt well with it. Like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy versus no, the actual tech of the putter is helping you putt better. Like do you have any kind of reference to that or not so much?
I don't think we need to go specifically into the golf literature. I don't think it's any secret that if you're confident in what you're doing in sport, you're going to perform better. Yeah. I think there's certainly something to what you're saying. Now, there's a reason why you have confidence, because you did putt better with it. So
yeah, for sure.
There might be something about that putter that's better suited to your stroke, and maybe it's just the look of the head that gives you confidence. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, with putting, I would take any advantage you could. But also, big in putting is sound and feel, and it's actually very hard to separate those unless you've got some noise canceling earphones on. There have been some putters that I've absolutely loved because of how they felt and how they sounded. I could give someone a terrible feeling sounding putter, set them up with 20 putts. If they sink 14 with the one that sounds terrible, is no good, and they sink 13 with the one that feels awesome, there's no way they're leaving here with the putt they've sank 14 putts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sounds like bottom line you're saying if it works for you, good, but it's not exactly making every other putter technology that came before it irrelevant.
No, I find that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact,
the marketing would lead you to believe that's the suggestion, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing. Lab makes a pretty cool putter. Wish them all the success in the world. Just as good as any other putter out there. It's nice, but I don't see anything from a biomechanics or a physics point that's like you're going to putt better with this compared to any other putter.
Got it. Well, let's pivot a minute here. Let's talk about speed training. So we've got. I mentioned the off season. Kind of the premise of our pod here is we're dads, we got full-time jobs, we got little kids. I know you identify with all that. We're rolling into an off season where we're trying to improve, trying to bring the handicap down, come into the next golf season better.
I literally just finished my baseline for the stack system.
Oh, there you go.
just before the
So there it
podcast.
is.
Yeah.
So tell us why in our limited off season practice time, right? Like why speed train? Why is that a sound investment of our time, and why speed train with the stack system?
Well, I mean, I think it's probably the easiest thing for the group of aged gentlemen on this call, the easiest thing we can do to
Thanks.
maintain or improve our golf score. We've got data from close to 50,000 stackers now, and we've got this really cool graph that shows everybody's speed from 8 to 88 over the course of their lifetime, and then what happens after one stack program. And I'm 46, and one feature of those two graphs that sticks out to me is that after one stack program, a 50-year-old is now swinging faster than the 40-year-old before any stack program.
That's great news for you, Hayes.
It's like reversing 10 years of
Holy
speed
cow.
loss. Yeah, it's really cool. But it has such an additive negative effect on our game if we're losing speed. So if you play similar courses, you think, right, I'm used to driving this bunker. I'm used to being in these particular spots. So we start to, in order to achieve those goals, we start to swing at a higher percentage of our maximum. Our maximum is dropping if we're not speed training. Our speed's probably going to peak if you don't do any training, probably 30, maybe early 30s at best, some cases even late 20s. So we're getting slower, but we want to hit the ball in the same places. Without any speed training, we're going to need to swing with more effort. If we swing with more effort than we're used to, we're probably going to be a little bit more erratic. It's just this negative cycle. And then we're also, we're going to be further away from the hole on our par fours and par fives. And that means we're going to be hitting longer clubs into them. It's just this terrible additive effect that really we should avoid as long as we possibly can by, just making speed training part of our off season, part of just our general ability to, efforts to get better at golf. It arguably should be the number one thing that you should be trying to focus on. It's going to have the most impact on your game, I believe.
So do you speed train during the season as well, or only off season? Like, I know you just said you did your baseline, but does that mean that you typically don't speed train during the season and then you save it for your off season?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't. I would like to, but I've got 3 kids. I got really 5 good months to play golf. I do just enough. I don't do a dedicated program. We've got I do speed priming. I try to maintain as much as I can throughout the summer. But the traveling and stuff, I do just enough to try and maintain as much as possible. But so for me, I will do 3 programs in the off season. That'll take me all the way into June. So I will be stacking during the start of the golf season, and then June, July, August, September, I'm trying to maintain with some speed priming, which is built into the app. And then, my speed right now, my baseline in the stack was 110. And hopefully I can get that up to, 116 before Christmas. And then I'm, hopefully in the 120s, by the time I get around to June, and then, it'll drop down again, by September. But, yeah, so I'm in this cyclical pattern of, as long as I can keep my speed at a decent enough level where it's not the limiting factor in my golf game.
Yeah.
So what program did it put you in?
It put me into foundation.
Is that? Okay.
What people always ask me all the time, hey, if I send you my data, can maybe you can tell me what program's right for me? I mean, I've spent so much time putting all my algorithms and thoughts and everything into the app. It's like me in there, but that just thinks way faster, analyzes all the data, and doesn't make any mistakes, So like I'm just like, oh, what program would I put myself into? I don't know. Let's see,
So you're
Right,
the reason why I had those 300-gram swings the last time. It was mad at me. The app was mad at me.
Well, if you had the 300-gram swings, probably what's happened there is you probably weren't warmed up when you did the 195.
It's probably
Um,
fair.
yeah, and then you got super warmed up by the time you hit the heavier weights, and that was like, oh, we need you swinging really heavy weights the next time. So it's very rare to be recommended the full Monty of stack weights.
I will
Possible.
say before you get in there, when we did testing on it for the My Golf Spy forum, the I didn't realize until I was like putting everybody's stats together and like looking at all their different weights of like, wow, this app is really recommending different intervals of weights for everybody at every session. When you're going through, you look at it like, oh, okay, it's incrementing me up or down a little bit. These sessions, you'd think that'd be like standard across foundations, but no, it's really each individual session it's reacting to it, which I thought was really, really cool. And
That's super cool.
I wouldn't have noticed that until I was trying to compile everybody's data.
Yeah.
So my off season is, like I said, it's going to be getting underway here real soon. My stack arrived in the mail today.
Ooh, shiny.
I have never speed trained before. And I mean, I cruise kind of around like 102 to 104.
You're gonna
never
make
really
some
try
gains
to.
quick, buddy.
I never really try to stand on it because when I do, it goes 200 yards to the left. I'm a left-handed golfer, so massive slice. I also have some plans to do some work with a coach this offseason on my swing because I have some faults. I leak a little power early. I release the club too soon. I don't turn my hips the best.
I've heard that about you.
Yeah, that's not unknown knowledge. So with, I guess what my question would be, and maybe some other listeners will be in the same boat, if you have some common faults in your swing, should you speed train right along with working on making those changes to your swing mechanics? Should you put one before the other, or do they mix in pretty well, or can adding some speed training actually kind of just force your body to work better biomechanically?
Yeah, all of the above. So yes, to answer your last question first, speed training usually helps you self-organize into a better swing. It's rare to see faster golfers have terrible swings. Usually, the really bad mechanics means you're not swinging very well. That's not absolute, but that certainly would be the trend. I think the stack and stack sessions are a wonderful way to start incorporating positive swing mechanics. So you don't need to think about 20 things for every stack swing, but I always think about a few things that I want to reinforce in my own driver swing. So you said that you tend to slice the ball. Well, there's absolutely no reason why you can't rehearse an in to out path. So getting that club path a little more out to the left through impact, right? And then you got 20 seconds between reps. You do a couple little rehearsal moves. You look at maybe check your position at the top of the swing, and then you swing really, really hard, but ensuring that you're doing things to promote a left path. And my 12-year-old daughter was coming over the top a little bit, so I drew a chalk line in the place where we train, an arrow that's directly along the target line, away from the target. Hey, this is the direction I want you to take the stack back on, and then a kind of a curved arrow into impact coming from the inside, right? So that, hey, you swing really hard, but this is the direction I want you to think about the stack head moving through impact. So, it's ingraining an in-out path. That's great. For kids, it's super awesome to work on things like setup. Like my 8-year-old, draw the chalk outlines around it, get him in the address position I want, right? Draw the little chalk outlines around his feet or put some tape down, whatever. This is where I want your club, a little chalk where the ball is. Great opportunity to work on grip. It's very challenging to improve a beginning golfer's grip if they've had any level of success making ball contact. It just feels uncomfortable. But if all you're trying to do is swing fast, you don't have to worry exactly about where the club head's going through face or exactly what a face angle is. What a great opportunity to work on improving someone's grip. You got 20 seconds between swings, step out, step back in, get your feet set up, get in the correct posture, check your grip, swing as hard as you can. You mentioned a few other things, Jason. Well, we've got 66 videos in the learning library. I would encourage your coach to take a look at them, or if you don't have a coach, thumb through yourself. There's some great ones for working on improving lag. You said you cast early. So, we got one called downcock, another one called functional lag. You listen to those videos, take those concepts, try to apply them to your swing while you're training. It can be super helpful on ingraining good sound mechanics that lead to not only increase in club head speed, but also improvements in the ball flight that you want.
Sure.
And if your coach is able to go through the library, then they could look at your swing and be like, hey, Jason, check out, in particular, I want you to focus on these things while you're doing your stacking. So everybody is on a continuum. All stackers are on a continuum from just worry about swinging as fast as you can to, yeah, we need to worry about swinging really fast, but let's work on some swing mechanics at the same time. On this end of the continuum are the LPGA players who haven't missed a fairway since 1994, and there's a lot of them out there that they've got a driver speed of 92 miles an hour, but they just don't miss fairways.
Yep.
They just need to worry about swinging really hard. Also in that category, or a lot of times, are your mid-60s gentlemen who have been plus handicaps their whole life. They hit the ball very straight, but now they're only carrying it 190 yards.
Mhm.
Okay? They need to primarily focus on swing, stick fast. Let's see if we can't get the club head speed up. But then, as we go all the way down to beginning golfers who are all the way over here, hey, the main benefits of stacking for the beginning golfer is you don't have this continual negative feedback of the ball, So Jason, your instructor might be working on you with, trying to fix some positions. You might make the best swing. Yes, you nailed it. That's exactly what we're looking for, but you top it, right? And you're going to say to yourself, without his feedback, oh, it was a terrible swing. I topped it. Could have been the best swing in the world. The feedback from a radar telling you, look, especially if you're casting, the radar is going to give you good feedback. Hey, that felt effortless. Whoa, 106. I must have done something right there, right? And you're not getting this negative feedback. I hit it at the toe. I
Right.
topped it. I chunked it. Yeah.
My ball flight this year improved with driver, and I don't hit it short. I think my average Arcos was 275 this year. So
Let's not make this all about you, Jason.
no,
Right.
no,
It's really true.
no. But
He does that.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm
Sorry.
excited. I'm excited. I'm a pretty big dude. I'm 6'4".
Yeah,
So,
we know.
I
You're a
should
foot
be
taller
able to
than me.
swing
It's
it
fine.
probably a little higher.
Uh-huh.
Well, Brian, that wasn't a shot at you, but if we're gonna go there, you are a little shorter than I am.
Yeah, but I
He's
drive
just
just as far as you, so I'm
That's
doing
right.
something
You do.
right.
You do until I finish this stack program, and then I'm gonna be 30 yards longer.
We'll see about
I
that.
like it. That's the attitude we need, Jason. Yeah, if you're 6'4", yeah, you should be cruising at 110 for sure. How old
Yeah.
are you?
I'm only 35
Oh,
Why do you have to throw the only on?
Man,
because you're old.
just-
Hayes.
we are the same age. We are not old. Sasha and I and Hayes are all 46, which is obviously the
No,
perfect
I thought
age.
Hayes was 47.
No, I'm 46.
Oh,
Nice
okay.
mix, Brian.
Oh, okay.
Hey Sasha, so you're in talking about kids. I have an 8-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. My daughter has no interest, which is delightful. It's adorable. But my son really loves to come out and hit into the net. And so, is there an age where speed training is not recommended? And then, because it has never occurred to me once that there'd be kids who need speed training, but it does make sense now. Even just hearing that, like, sure, I played baseball as a kid. I was competitive. I would have done anything for more bat speed. It would have really helped my game. Is there an age limit where you'd say, yeah, it's probably not great, or once they hit a certain height or something like that, or is it just start them early?
there's a whole paradigm of thought called long-term athlete development. Reasonable amount of research that's gone into it. The Australian Institute of Sport really champions it, and they this concept, long-term athlete development, there's certain windows in a child's growth where we can target speed, endurance, flexibility, strength. And so for speed, there's a window when you're 7 and 8. So it says, hey, if you expose a kid to speed things when they're that age, then that will increase their ceiling when they're older. Then there's another window. There's a window for strength and flexibility. So 7 and 8. So, like I go out of my way with the algorithms for juniors are much more complex than they are for adults. Okay, so you enter in the driver length, everything scales to that. So if you fit your kid for a driver, then you can be confident that, and you just go on to Ping's website, WebFit. You don't need to buy the Ping stuff, but there's a great free fitting app there. And
Awesome.
you're like, oh, my kid should be playing a driver this long. You enter that into the Stack app, and all of the weights will be scaled. And one thing that I like to say to folks in the U.S., if your kid is using an age match baseball bat, if you go into Dick's Sporting Goods and you're like,
Yep.
right, let's get a bat for them, the forces they experience on their body swinging that bat will be higher than the heaviest stack weights recommended to them. Okay.
Okay.
And some folks say, well,
Wow.
I don't. It's dangerous for my kid to be swinging something that fast. Well, have you ever seen a 4-year-old swing a plastic golf club at like Mach 300? Like,
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Usually at your
no one's like,
shins.
no,
Yeah.
Johnny,
Yeah.
do not swing that plastic golf club, right? It's just a blur. Like, or if your kid's playing badminton, like at the 100-gram badminton racket, it's going to be going way faster than the lightest things on the stack.
Mhm.
Would you ever tell your kid run to first base, slow down, you're going to pull a hamstring? No,
Right.
you wouldn't. The biggest concerns are overuse, not from stacking, from hitting 8,000 balls, or if you're forcing your kid to go do stuff, reps and reps and reps. So all the impacts with the turf is going to be way more stressful than some air swings with the stack.
Yeah. He's not allowed to come inside until his hands are bleeding. So I think that's
Yeah,
normal,
right. Well,
That's-
like, if they find it fun,
Yeah.
then have them do it. Provide the opportunity. And it's less about a regimented program with kids that are 7 to 13. Right. If you're in that age range, it's more about exposing them to speed every once in a while. They're not going to benefit from the consistency. Their bodies just don't, or physiologically have the processes to adapt to stimulus at the same rate that you can once you go through puberty. But it's important still to get exposed to it. Now, once you get older, for folks like us, that frequency becomes super important. But for kids, if they find it fun and they like to do it and they want to set some records, absolutely, have them do it.
So my kids love having the radar.
Yeah.
I'll be
Yeah.
outside
Oh,
swinging,
yeah.
and they'll be like, they'll bring their driver out. They'll be like, "Can I go? Can I go?" I'm like, "All right, yeah, you can take a few swings. You can." And they're always trying to get a higher number, and
Is there you were talking about grip? Is there a benefit to one of the grips that have like this is where your hand position should be on the club? It's a practice club, right? So like with the grip, you wouldn't put that on a kid's stack too, would you? Like just to sort of double down on this is your hand position,
I
and now
wouldn't.
swing as fast as you can. Okay.
No, I mean, if you wanted to, like, in between, hey, grab that grip.
Yeah.
This is what it should feel like. But if you can't have a kid adjust their grip if they need that mold, yeah, I don't know. I don't think you need it. I think it's pretty cool. Scotty uses it all the time. It's good. It reminds him, but not
Yeah.
everybody's grip is going to grip for them is going to exactly fit that, that mold. I think it can be super helpful. I wouldn't stack with it on,
Great.
All right. Well, Sasha, we've gotten radically off topic here. Let's get back to Jason, the star of the show.
Yeah, come on, Matt. What the heck?
I apologize. I'm very sorry, Jason.
So Jason's in his 30s. We got a couple of 40. I'm curious. So I'm like cruising at 106. We're all over the spectrum of speeds here. Are there kind of systemic or common faults or speed leaks that you see among slower players that the faster guys that are at that 115 to 120 typically aren't doing?
Yeah, two common ones for me are Jason's a common one, casting. I'm a big proponent of a transition sequence that's proximal to distal. Not so into necessarily that the peaking order of the speeds, but I want to see the lower body going first, then the torso, then the lead arm coming off the chest, and then the last angle should be the angle between the lead forearm and the shaft. If I look at someone and that club head pops out, or the hands start down and start to move in the downswing direction, and I haven't seen any action from the lead hip, that's really going to be a big limiting factor in terms of the amount of speed you can generate. You know, all you have to do is grab a golf ball and imagine winding up on your back foot like you're going to throw it for distance. And instead of taking any step or moving off that back foot, move your hand 6 inches and then do the motion. You know, and it's gonna be like, wow, that feels terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's kind of what we're dealing with in the golf swing as well. So that's a big one. Another one that I actually see quite common with speed training in particular, maybe not necessarily with the driver, but you know, with speed training for max speed, is there's folks that are like, yeah, I'm going to put in as much effort as I can, and they continue to try and add speed into the system way too long. So they've got a ton of speed in the torso right through impact, and they don't get that speed out to the club. So the feeling of getting the speed that you've developed in the body, you have to give it enough time to get out to the club. If you continue to accelerate the torso and have a lot of speed in the body through impact, then even though there's more speed overall in the system, it doesn't really matter because the point is to get it out to the club.
I wonder if that's what I run into. Just kind of going on to one of the questions that I had, like my max intent versus my full intent swings. I feel like my max intent swings are never as fast as if I try to kind of still feel smooth.
Yep.
And complete in my swing. And I wonder if that's one of the things where if I'm just still
100%, that would be the
aggressive.
first place I would look. The other place I would look would be grip tension. That you're probably, you know, squeezing that grip a little bit too hard. You know, we don't want the final phases of the swing. We really don't want to be trying to do a whole lot with the forearm muscles. You know, we want to have enough grip pressure so the club doesn't fly out of our hands. Surprisingly, that doesn't have to be very much. Just Google VJ Singh and Fred Couples at Impact. Their trail hand's not even on the club. You know, so we don't need a ton to keep that club from slipping in our hands. Easiest thing to do, none of you are in the same room, but if you have someone, to get a sense in this, right? If you have someone grab your driver head, right? And I want you to have them pull on it and lean back, like you're going to try to, you know, like they're leaning back and you're trying to like pull them out of a pool or something, right? Or off of a ledge. Squeeze the grip as hard as you can to get a sense of, right, this is how hard I can squeeze it, and then realize how much force you can apply pulling the grip off the shaft, but have your hands relatively loose. Right? It's usually not a limiting factor, even though we might perceive that to be the case. So we don't really need to be at a very high percentage of our grip pressure to apply the, you know, through impact. A crazy amount of force would be like 130 pounds. You know, that would be like you're swinging like 140 miles an hour or something. So we don't even need, you know, that, and it's pretty easy to pull on something without it slipping out of your hands with 130 pounds of pull force for a brief second.
I'm so glad you didn't hit us with a imagine you're holding a baby bird analogy. That I've gotten a little tired of that one. Yeah,
it's a bit extreme.
Yeah, right.
I'm definitely on the spectrum of baby bird tube of toothpaste though.
Got it. Matt, you have a question?
No, I'm just imagining my kids squeezing a tube of toothpaste right now, and it's just going everywhere because they don't know how to squeeze a tube of toothpaste. So now I'm just distracted. So
a good way to think of it, a good thing for you to do is imagine throwing a baseball or grab a golf ball and imagine going, okay, I'm gonna hold this golf ball with the same level of grip pressure that I think I need for my club, and see how far you can throw it. And then go, right, how hard do I want to squeeze this golf ball or this rock or this baseball before I throw it? You know, guys throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs aren't crushing it.
Yeah, my kids, we watched a lot of the Dodgers World Series. I'm a Mets fan. It was hard to watch them lose, but then I was happy to root for the Dodgers against the Yankees. And so my kids were asking, you know, do you know how to throw a fastball? Do you know how to throw a curveball? Like they had all these questions. They'd never really watched a lot of baseball. And so I was explaining, you know, if you want to throw a changeup, you grip the ball harder. Like it's the opposite of what you would think. It goes along with that idea that fastball is a lighter grip, a changeup is it's further back in your hand, and you're actually squeezing harder so that it looks the same, but it comes out slower. So it's a really fascinating idea. I had a coach who said the same thing. He was, you're gripping the driver so hard. Loosen up a little bit, because you need that. You need to be able to feel the club in your hand, and also the that's where the whip comes from, which I still haven't quite figured out. But I guess I gotta get a towel or something. But
Even, if we go to the extreme of lifting weights, Hayes, you look like you do the odd deadlift.
no, he doesn't work out at all.
I pick up weights every now and then, yeah.
He has been accused of being a fitness junkie.
Sasha noticed. That ends the podcast. We're done.
So the next time you go to deadlift, you're probably doing I'd say you could probably do a set of 4 with 425, definitely trap bar deadlift. Even though I can't see your legs in this cutout, but
Ooh,
Brian, don't you dare.
Oh,
Brian likes to make calf jokes.
Hayes has skipped a leg day or two, Sasha.
Okay, fair enough.
Damn
So
it,
the next time you do deadlift, right, and you've got 400 pounds loaded on the bar, think about, well, why am I not squeezing this bar as hard as I can? Think about that. Actually,
Yeah.
you don't have a ton of grip tension,
Yeah.
even when you are deadlifting. Why is
Yeah.
that? Why are you not squeezing the bar when you go to a pull-up? How come you don't squeeze the pull-up bar?
It might be
You know,
because I resort to straps when I hit 370. That's the priority. but point taken. Got it. Hey, Sasha, we're hitting an hour here. We want to be respectful of your time, but I got to ask for a few more minutes. I can't let you off the hook without talking to us about something I'm really excited. I heard you on Chasing Scratch. Wedge combines are coming to the Stack app.
Yeah.
But tell me more. I don't. You were right. I have no idea when Canadian Thanksgiving is. So when should we expect this to come out? What's going to come out?
Yeah, what's going to come out? So it'll be a little. You can see I just started my new program, my first workout, but we're going to have a little. I don't know if we can even see that. This is a terrible
Could
idea.
see- oh,
There it
there we
is.
go.
there we go.
There it is.
Yep.
There's the wedge. Probably have to
It
reverse
says
it.
to start foundation.
That's right. It's right. I've done my baseline. I'm ready to go. Yeah. Well, it's not. We've the radar we've got, the stack radar. Basically, Marty and I are always trying to figure out ways to help people stack, their golfing skills, right? That's, the stack was stacking the weights. Now we're moved on to, stacking your golfing skills.
There you go.
It's quality
But
product.
it is. So we're staying within the constraints of the radar. There's some things that it does very, very well. It's super accurate with ball speed. It's, within a mile per hour of TrackMan, pretty much every swing. And that is, ball speed is the number one predictor of carry distance. Now, we all know that launch angle and spin are very important, but if you make decent contact, somewhere hitting shots between 30 yards and 140 yards, the stack radar does a very good job of predicting carry distance. So we've defined the wedge mode into that range. And we've gamified it. I've got some really cool algorithms for accumulating what I call stack points, which is based on a strokes gain statistic. We're going to run you through a baseline. One of the things we wanted, it's kind of like, the poor man's launch monitor that enables you to kind of get the most out of it, right? But it's going to try to improve your distance control from 30 to 140 yards in about the best way you can. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we really want to make it like the speed training where you don't have to think. There's going to be a creative putting where you can go in and create your own practice sessions, but we want to have a mode where it's like, hey, Hayes, do this. And the more we get you to do, the more we're going to be able to like, hey, you know what? You're not very good between 80 and 110 yards. So let's have you focus on that.
I'm glad you didn't finish that sentence with "at golf."
Yeah. But it's just it's a fun added feature we wanted to give stack users that have this radar. Marty used it a ton, and he's a very good golfer, but he got ridiculously good, best he's ever been with his distance control this summer. we were trying to like do a lot of the training for the algorithms and make sure we had the all the equation stuff correct. So he was going through the combines. That was the best his distance control's ever been. So he's super pumped about it.
So is there like a whiteboard with a master plan for the stack with, phase 2 is putting, phase 3 is library, or are you having like 2 a.m. epiphanies on like, I can add wedges?
And there's no shortage of ideas.
Got it.
The road map is beginning to look a bit more like a road book. We've got
Nice.
so many ideas, and we, basically, we're just constantly prioritizing, shuffling things around. But once wedging's out, then there's some really cool additions to speed training, some improvements to the scheduling, some improvements. We want to be able to upload videos. That's been in the pipeline for a while. I'm actually piloting myself right now, being able to compete in speed training with
wow.
other people.
Cool.
And the unique thing we're going to do with that is, like, let's say we all went into a competition, right? It's like, right, well, it's not fair to say who's going to improve the most, because maybe I've just come off 3 stack programs, or maybe I'm already super fast. I'm swinging 130. So I'm going to set it up so that, let's say the 5 of us, hey, let's do it. We're going to start our baseline this week, and we're going to compete. We'll be able to set our weightings for the overall winner based on the final speed, right? So, hey, how much weight do you want to give to the final speed? So if we were all about the same, and we all had the same level of training, then we'd say, right, 100% weight to the final speed. That's all I care about, right? But then if we're like, no, Brian's only swinging at, 80 miles an hour and Hayes is at 120, well, finals, that doesn't make sense. Hayes is already swinging faster. So then we'll put more weighting on improvement in speed.
Sounds about
And then
right.
the third one will be grit score, right? And then you can have individual winners. Hey, who adhered to the program the best? So there's ways you can make the competition a little more engaging for everybody, right? So you could win the grit score. You'd be like, I have the highest grit score at the end. Yeah. So that's just one of about, I don't know, 50 other things. So then we're kind of constantly like, we had those things were going to come out, and then we're like, oh, cool, we got Stack Radar. Let's do wedge mode. So that kind of took priority. And we've got, I think, maybe Wednesday, an app update with some major improvements to putting.
Okay.
Nice.
That's super cool. I mean, the stack, like you say, it's quickly becoming a robust training platform. It's way more than speed training now. So it's really cool what you've been doing with it.
We've got so many Corn Ferry. It's really it's exploded on the Corn Ferry Tour in particular. The putting, so many Corn Ferry guys doing the putting.
That's great.
And I pretty much everybody's. You see guys like Matt McCarty. I don't know if you saw his win. He was like gained a ton of speed with the stack system.
Yep. That was awesome.
Because they're like, okay, I just had an awesome message. Who sent me the message? They Braden Thornberry. He just out of the blue, So I was like ready to block him. I was like, "Who's this? Going to block him on Instagram?" He sent me a message saying, "Hey, I was able to hit 18 and 2, finish with the birdie thanks to all the stack trainings." That was awesome. It's becoming a staple. Hey, you need speed, you need to putt better. There's an easy and efficient way to do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, for amateurs like us, I mean, you've covered every par 4, right? Hit it far enough, then you got a wedge in hand, then get on and putt, and you're off. It's great. Yeah. Well, Sasha, you've been really, really generous with your time. Matt's got one more. Damn.
No, I got 2. They're really quick. So one, the stack, you have this thing, right? So it works for golf. We know it works. Do you plan to, obviously you've branched out a little bit into baseball. Are there other things that you could use the training for? So hockey,
stack for pickleball.
Pickleball, absolutely. Number one, obviously growth sport in America. Is there an advantage? Is there or an idea that you could spread that way?
Yeah, we're probably going to stick with golf and baseball for now. I've looked into, I had lots of people reach out about lacrosse, at least half dozen people about lacrosse, cricket. A lot of people reach out about cricket. A few people reach out about hockey. Hockey is a completely different kettle of fish, different principles altogether.
Okay.
People think it's similar to golf, but really quickly in golf, you could let go of the club at impact. It's about how fast the club's moving, and it would have no influence on the ball. Hockey, the opposite's true. How fast the stick is moving when it hits the ice, and you need to hit the ice. You don't hit the puck first. So that's, imagine a golf. You're like, right, I'm going to try to hit 6 inches behind the ball to optimize my shot here.
Are we not supposed to do that?
Yeah, that's right.
That's for a different
explains a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's 100% correlation, almost between club head speed and ball speed in golf, but crazy low correlation between stick speed when you hit the ice and puck velocity. It's about maximizing the forces and the timing during impact. Golf, the forces you apply and the timing are completely inconsequential during impact. Unless you're hitting at a hay or something.
So my other question was, I have a PRGR radar device. Is it? I know that the stack you guys worked on, it automatically connects to the app. Like, there's some huge advantages. But as far as the technical specs, like you were saying, it's within a yard of, or a mile per hour of the TrackMan or something. Is it the same basic technology there? Like, is it? If I just were to go pick it, like the wedge combine sounds amazing, because that's something I've been working on a lot, is those numbers in particular. Is it worth selling the PRGR and upgrading to the stack because it makes it that much easier, or is it something that's a sort of down the line purchase?
The difference in price makes it worth it, for sure. But you're fine with a PRGR. But really, the experience is pretty elevated if you go to the stack radar. The speed's going directly in the app, slightly larger display. A massive one, if you're speed training with it, is the fact that the stack radar, you can change the speed threshold. So lots of folks trigger the PRGR in the backswing. With the stack radar, we have different levels of speed thresholds. You can pump it all the way up to 55 miles an hour. So like Martin Borgmeyer can't even trigger it when he does his pump backswing.
Holy smokes.
So that's a massive benefit, because that gets super annoying as people get fast, and we're like, all right, there could be someone who's like, hey, I want you to work on a fast backswing. And every time you take a fast backswing, you trigger the PRGR.
Got it.
It's like,
I've tried that on a few like max intent swings, like really trying to like go back fast, get to the top and come back down and see if I can translate that to more speed. And you get a reading. It's like 42 miles an hour. I'm like, I think I swung that faster than 42.
No, that sounds about right, Brian.
Yeah. So for a few extra bucks, you get a larger display. You can toggle the speed threshold. Data goes directly in the app, and we have the wedge mode coming out. So
that's awesome. Okay, great. That's kind of what I wanted to hear. I just
get it on the Christmas list, man.
I know. I just needed the excuse to say, like, I know I have this one, but I need this one.
and matchy with the stack itself, like
exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, Sasha, you've been even more giving of your time, Matt.
Yeah. See, but it was worth it.
Both of our listeners are going to hear this, and they're going to want to know, how do I get a stack? How do I follow Sasha? How do they do that?
Yeah, stacksystem.com. Tons of information. And listeners could spend 4 or 5 days on our website listening to all the videos and learning about speed training and, golf stuff in general in our FAQ. I overloaded the FAQ. It's not just an FAQ. It's like FAQ about...
Right.
I was like, I want to share some stuff. I'll put it on our FAQ. Maybe not optimal, but it's on there. And follow me on X. If you could probably also spend a good week going through my my X posts. I post some pretty cool research stuff over the years, I think.
All right. Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody, for listening in. Once again, you can always find us on X. We're also on Instagram, and you can email us at bogeyballsociety@gmail.com. Sasha, thanks again so much for your time.
Yeah, man.
We're out. All right. That was Sasha MacKenzie.
I told you. I mean, we told you.
Yeah.
We told you he was smart.
Yeah. Exactly. You surprised me, though. So you didn't realize that Heads Up Putting started with Sasha MacKenzie, huh?
Well, it's not that it started with, but I didn't realize that he used it.
Fair enough, yeah.
But I had no idea that he actively used it in his daily. Like, that's how he putts.
Yeah.
And
so we're not the only golf podcast out there, right? And he's appeared on a few others. And Yeah. There's a couple others. And we didn't really peel it back too much in our episode because I feel like he's said it several times over, but he talks about how in his trials, and he'll bring golfers into his lab, and I think the number he quotes is 80% of the guys he brings in putt better heads up, staring at the target rather than at the ball. So I got to tell you, I've dabbled. Listening to him, I'm gonna go all in the off season, see if I can bring it to the course for next year. I'm pretty
it's great.
convinced. I mean, if he thinks it's a good idea and he's taking it to the course, I know nobody that I would, who's going to argue with that guy? You know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you, I practical example. I had a terrible round of putting. We recorded that episode.
Mm-hmm.
The next round of putting, I incorporated that specifically into my practice routine of, it was a course I hadn't played in a long time. The greens were running very quick for what I typically play. I'd say we typically play around 10, and these were running much closer to 11 and a half. And being able to spend a half hour on the putting green before I teed off, just doing that, just practicing that.
Yeah.
And it was like a night and day difference between my rounds. So, he's just like a font of information. And, I mean, if you liked what you heard, you can definitely follow him on socials. I mean, I would highly recommend it. He's fascinating. He's interesting. He's super entertaining, and highly recommend.
And get the stack system. I mean, if you're serious about picking up some club head speed, if you're serious about getting better, especially in the off season, I mean, speed training is where it's at. I mean, that's where you're going to get the most bang for your time spent. And
also the fact that they incorporate putting and now chipping into the stack system makes it basically an all-in-one system. It's pretty incredible.
Well, and that's what I didn't get into it with him. I mean, like it used to be you're just buying the radar and some speed training and here's the price. Now you're getting speed training, the putting app, and he's bringing wedges to it. It's become like it was a good deal. Now it's like a scream of a deal to get the stack system too. So definitely something to check out.
100%. All right. We'll see you guys next week. We'll keep it close to the vest this time about what we're going to talk about, but chances are there's some liquor involved.
Thanks, everybody.
See you guys next week.